10:45. I may have the DTM Distinguished Toastmaster Don't Time Me credentials, but time's a big deal for me. Let's get settled. Are you having fun yet? Did you have at least 3 good takeaways from whatever educational session you attended? Good to hear. Have you talked to somebody you haven't talked to before? Didn't hear that quite as strongly. So, my challenge for you is to make it a point to meet somebody new. That's one of the exciting things about a conference. We have a district that is spread out over a fair amount of territory in 3 states. I keep forgetting Northern California. Take the time to introduce yourself and meet somebody new. We will launch right into the evaluation contest. And our evaluation contest Toastmaster this morning is the epitome of service to District 7. She has served as an area director, a division director, a club coach, a club sponsor, a club mentor, the district training coordinator. She has filled all of the officer roles, and she just wrapped up the dynamic leadership path. She shared an Irish proverb with me earlier that I think is the essence of speech evaluation. Say a little and say it well. Help me welcome our evaluation contest Toastmaster, Distinguished Toastmaster, Kathleen Tully.
Thank you. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm going to do a call to action that tags onto Donna's. Do you remember the first time you walked into Toastmasters being a little nervous, a little unsure? My first Toastmasters, I actually arrived a few minutes late so I could leave without going in because I couldn't be late. So today, please make a point, not just one. Find 3 people you've never seen before, met before, interacted with before. Introduce yourself and serve them with the theme of the day in some way to let them talk about themselves. Let them talk about what club they belong to, so what brought them here today. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the evaluation contest. So a few housekeeping rules. No cameras, no flash cameras, nothing that will distract our contestants. No video cameras. If you would like a copy of this, you can give a thumb drive or ask one of the district leaders for that to make that happen. I will ask you to please turn off your phones because there's always that little brrr, brrr sound that comes out, so please turn them off. Again, put yourself in the position of a contestant and think about how that might distract. Please keep, and this is going to be pretty easy today, but keep the aisles clear. We have contestants sitting in a variety of places. We want them to get in and out of the aisle and up on the stage easily. And the Sergeant at Arms has instructed everyone he will be at the back door to make sure that people do not enter and exit as a contestant is speaking. If you need to leave the room for any reason, please wait until the person that's up here speaking is finished. Then during the applause, please get up, walk out, and Michael will let you out the door. Okay? Just a couple quick things in case someone's not familiar with the evaluation contest format. We will begin with a 5 to 7 minute test speaker or model speaker. After that speech, our evaluation contestants will be escorted out of the room. They'll have 5 minutes to prepare their evaluations. They'll be escorted one at a time back in to give their evaluations. With that, you can see the order of our contestants today. Quickly, Rachel Rodman is 1, Scott Frazier, Alexis Mason, Cleon Cox, Nate Woods, Chelsea Carpenter, Alan Indiger, and Deborah Clough. With that, I will ask the Chief Judge, has everyone been briefed and rules reviewed, Chief Judge?
Yes, they have.
Thank you. Said with confidence, yes. And all the contestants know where the evaluation lights are. Where are the evaluation lights?
The timer's lights.
Timer's lights, thank you. Thank you. All right. Sergeant at Arms, have you secured the door? Yay, thank you so much. So please help me welcome Seth Kabbalah, Peaked Performance, Seth Kabbalah.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. How's everybody feeling today? I feel like the brain training app Peak is this walking, talking, or more accurately, a clicking, screen time bloating irony. The stated goal of this app is to improve your lifelong mental processing potential in several categories, like problem solving and memory. The irony is that you peak quickly. It's not so much about attaining your peak performance as it is realizing the ceiling of your potential is a lot lower than you had thought. Oh, whoops. You just bumped your head on the dumb ceiling. No worries. You can hang out here with the rest of us dummies. I started using this app a few years ago because I wanted to be more present during work presentations while running meetings and to have fewer instances of waking up in a conference room, looking around at the random participants and wondering if I'd just been kidnapped. Don't tell me kidnappers can't wear business casual. Oh, sure, they might say they are there to discuss funding strategies for capital infrastructure improvement, but that's what all the kidnappers say when they're talking about their second homes. You can't trust them. I wanted to be my best at work. In addition to getting enough rest and eating well, I thought training my brain to function at a higher level was the right way to go. At the start, I'd go through my daily Just For You workout, which was supposedly hand-tailored to my specific developmental needs, although the algorithm did get shifty eyes whenever I asked it to remember my name. I was coming along pretty well in most of the categories, but I could not muster the peak performance necessary to score above average in all the categories. When you finish a workout, Peak gives you the option to view your brain in a nutshell, which will show you the averages for all your scores across all categories relative to the scores of all other Peak users within your same age range. And like I said, I was doing okay in most categories, but my problem solving sucked. I'll give you an example. There's this game, it's called Earth Defense, where the idea is to place these defensive bombs just outside the Earth's atmosphere to defend against incoming meteors. Now, word of warning, fair warning, if the government decides to put me in charge of meteor defense, go ahead and find a new planet now, because we are all doomed. I couldn't do it. No matter using the app on a normal daily basis, I could not get my score above the average. So, I did the healthy thing that I always do when I want to improve at something. Became obsessed and did problem solving day and night until I finally got my score above the average. Yes! And then I peaked. Looking at my stats back from the beginning, I started at around the 300s, and I increased to the 600s, got into the 700s. 1,000 is the top potential score. This was after about a year of gameplay. And since that time, I've inched up to the 720s, but now I'm steadily losing ground. And problem solving is still the culprit. Now, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in my career if I can reduce the number of moves it takes to position tiles on a board where you've only got a few blank spaces, so that the tiles with lines on them line up to form a solid line, but maybe. Process improvement strategies often must find a way around the intractable object or person. I don't think my opportunities for promotion will narrow if I can't remember every shape the game showed me 3 shapes back. In fact, I think this might hinder my top work performance. Imagine if you were always focused on the name of the person you saw 3 people back. In my case, living in Portland, I would end up calling a whole heck of a lot of people by the name of the last Starbucks barista that I saw. They are everywhere. But I keep trying to raise my peak score, hoping it's going to serve as some bridge to future success. And I think that's unrealistic. Giving peak the credit for any success I have at work, in my family, or in life in general risks introducing the fallacy of primacy and recency. Note, this is not the fallacy and primacy effect as related to learning and retention. If you'd like to learn about that, pay tuition and go back to school. Or do a Google search. It's really the same difference. The Seth take on primacy and recency is this. We tend to attribute success to whatever we've set up as an intentional activity to improve performance. Primacy, it's of prime importance to us, and with which we've engaged in close to real time to realize the intention of that activity. Recency, we did it recently. We like to feel like our actions are controlling on our future, like what we intended to create success was actually causal in our success and not subject to some random dice roll of the universe. Even if I could draw a statistical correlation between my peak performance and some life KPI, is that worth anything? Am I giving myself a false reason to feel good about all the time I'm spending fine-tuning my noggin so I can justify the money I'm spending for the privilege of getting frustrated with this app? Those who study game design theory know you have to give gamers rewards to convince them to keep playing. They need to win. Because with each win, however small, comes a release of dopamine, a high, which translates into a need to return to the source of that high. Career success, healthy family, calm mind. If the price of attaining these things is yelling at peak and obsessing until I earn a marginal 5-point improvement, even if that comes on the heels of a 50-point loss, I'll pay the price for that win. Sure. Robert Louis Stevenson said, "You cannot run away from weakness. You must sometime fight it out or perish. And if that be so, why not now and where you stand?" I intend to continue fighting it out with peak, even if my gaming buddy is named Irony. Madam Toastmaster.
As our first contestant, Rachel Rodman. Rachel Rodman.
Seth, what I admired tremendously about this speech was your confidence. You jumped onto the stage, you asked how we were doing, we're all on board with you to start with, and you continued that confidence throughout. I really enjoyed your gestures, your eye contact, you used the space. This space belonged to you, and we were absolutely on your side the entire speech. Now, I also really admired your use of language, and it was so funny. There were things like bumping your head on the dumb ceiling. An algorithm gave you the shifty eye when it asked your name. If the government were to put you in charge of meteor safety, we would all be in big, big trouble, right? This was all very engaging. Now, I got a little lost, actually, right at the beginning. And I think not everyone in the audience is as familiar with these apps and the purpose of these apps. And so I wanted just a little bit more framework to start with. I kind of had to piece it together, what the point of this was, what its function was as you went through the speech. And I think I would have avoided that dislocation if there's just been a little bit of more time at the beginning devoted to what does this do, right? Now, I really enjoyed how it came to the end it was sort of the point that this is silly, right? This is silly that my gaming buddy is Irony, and yet I would have been more on board with that struggle and that connection if I'd gotten that framing to start with. Now, Seth, this was a very entertaining and cleverly written speech. I think on the subject of gestures, although I very much enjoyed something like the ceiling, the inching up, and there was a lot of other great stuff you did, I think if you had used the space a little bit more to convey your frustration, we would have been on board with you even more. I thank you so much today, Seth, for sharing this speech with us, and I wish you the best of luck in peak performance. Thank you.
Please welcome our second contestant, Scott Frazier. Scott Frazier.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Seth, for a wonderful, marvelous, humorous speech. Great enthusiastic approach. I know if you saw him jump up here and get right into it. One of the things in a humorous speech is timing. The very first thing off the bat was you kind of jumped into your speech before the clapping had stopped. The rest of the humor was well-timed, very good. You really had me at the dumb ceiling. Believe me, I've been there with you a lot of times. You had good use of gestures with your hands. You had great eye contact. When you made eye contact with the audience, part of the problem that I saw was you tended to wander a little bit, often to the side, talking to the stage or talking to whoever might be out here. With a humorous speech like this, use the stage to a purpose. Make sure you place your ideas in a location. Go to that location and talk to that location. Be at that location, refer back to your idea over there. Don't just kind of wander about from one place to another. It gives the impression that you're a little confused, you're not sure where to go, and you're also taking yourself away from your audience. You're showing the audience your shoulder, you're showing that part of the audience your butt. Now, it's a nice butt, but it's not something that we need to see a lot of. This was a great speech, great humorous speech, but I'm afraid I kind of lost it. Maybe my son would understand a lot of these references. For example, I had a life KPI. I haven't a clue what that means. Video games, kind of, sort of, I understand, but make sure that you know who you're talking to so that they understand the kind of speech that you're giving and the references that you're making. I liked how you connected playing the game to life and your most recent barista, because game playing really often doesn't seem like it connects to anything. I liked how you made those connections so that we can learn from whatever we do in dealing with the dice roll of the universe. Thank you.
Our next contestant is Alexis Mason. Alexis Mason.
Thank you, Kathleen, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and most especially you, Seth. You know, there's somebody in this room that loves acronyms as much or more than I do. You may have heard him speak earlier today. His name is Dana. Does that sound familiar? I love acronyms too, and I have two that I like to use for evaluation, Seth. One is SHAPE, stands for simplicity, humor, authenticity, persuasion, and execution. But there's really not much time in a 3-minute evaluation to do all of that, so I'm going to give you the gift of evaluation as a return thank you for the gift you gave us with your speech. The G is gestures. And I noticed when you began that you came to the front of the stage, but you were mostly looking down at the first few rows of people or the floor. I was sitting about a third of the way back, and I did not get eye contact from you. My recommendation for your gestures would be you're a tall guy, so stand up, look out, look at the back row, and the people in the front row will think you're looking at them, but you might not be. But the people in the back will go, wow, what a great job, he's looking right at me. And that's always very engaging with the audience. The other thing I noticed about your gestures, that they were very good, and I especially liked the one where you bumped your head, and then the peak performance, and you peaked, and then you slumped down. Those were very effective. But for the most part, I found your movement random. You tended to go back and forth quite a bit. Now, my recommendation for in that area for an overall movement would be to begin here And as you're telling your story, which was fairly chronological, then move this way. And that way, the audience is reading you from left to right like they would read a book. And this, for you, it would feel a little awkward because it feels backwards. But from the audience perspective, they're reading you just like a line of type. And as you move through your story, you can move to different areas of the stage. And don't forget north and south, too, as well as east and west when you're moving. For the I, that's the inflection, all of the verbal stuff. I thought your vocal variety was very good. Thought your pacing was good. You paused effectively. You had plenty of rhetorical questions and triads in your speech. There was lots of humor. The audience loved it when you were kidnapped and when you went to the new planet and all that sort of thing. What I did not like, and I'll tell you this right up front because I'm an old lady, I didn't like the word sucked in your speech. I know it's a generational thing. People laughed and enjoyed it. I didn't. I would find a different word to tell us about how badly you did on the problem solving. Fundamentally, I thought you did a good job. You were very authentic, your organization was good, and the takeaway I liked especially the actions controlling on our future and the application between game theory design and your work environment. Thank you again for a really delightful speech.
Please welcome our next contestant, Cleon Cox. Cleon Cox.
When I heard the title, Peak Performance, the first thing that went through my mind was, oh, Peak Performance. My friend's got a physical training place called Peak Performance. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be all about working out. And if anybody needs to work out, that's me. But I said, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most honored guests, and where are you, Seth? Thank you very much. I didn't remember the brown sweater. You came out here with energy, going to town right off the bat. Didn't wait or anything, it just was going. And I thought, oh my goodness, slow down. You're going to reach this peak. You're going to peak out too soon. This man has energy. Did you feel his energy? Is he passionate? Yes, definitely came through. I could feel it. I could hear it. I thought, where's he going to take me with this? And then all of a sudden I'm picking up, this is an app, okay? An app. I have plenty of apps, yes. All right. Problem solving is not his choice place in life, it seems like. But he's got this and he's working on it. He's explaining it to me. Games. I have grandkids, great-grandkids that all play the games. I'm thinking like, where's it going? And he's going on. He's got a good, strong voice. I could hear it. I could feel it. He's going to go with it. Great. I thought, okay. And he keeps going back and forth in a short area in here. But yes, he's got it. He's going to teach me something and I'm going to learn from it. I don't know if I'm going to play games or anything or use that app to work me through, but I will pick up something from him. He continued on and sharing with us some more. And then I watched his gestures, and lo and behold, he's got great gestures. He doesn't have the continual mirror ones. He's got them to point this, and he's got over here, and he's not afraid to let his hands go down here. So it fits in so well. And that continual energy, at first I thought, well, he'll poop out, he'll peek out, but he didn't. And then I thought, oh, doggone, he's young. I can't compete with that, but that's good. That's good. Because that's what's going to make me continue to compete better. And then he's going on. The doggone game is taking him. But the thing I liked, what I heard though, is perseverance. Keep working on it. How can I change it? How can I find it? That's what I was developing and picking up from you. You spoke clearly. You had the energy. You were working it for us. You wanted us to pick up from this. And I keep thinking, okay, am I going to pick up? How much? What am I going to pick up? But you continually work me into it. In order for me to grasp more of it, what came to my mind was, could you slow just a hair? And as I was listening and watching to Dana Lamond, I noticed how he executes and elocutes those words and articulates them just a little bit more with the mouth working. And I thought, this is something I want to work on some more now. I shouldn't speak as fast. Get the word out there. Let your mouth discover and develop. And yesterday, a fellow at another meeting, he had observed somebody else, and he says, the guy's lips don't move. So what? He says, he's not making clear statements. interesting little pieces. And that's what I would share. Slow down just a little so that you can put that into it. Keep your energy going. Make those, you've got great gestures going. Do that. And that's the irony of it all. Madam Toastmaster.
Please welcome our 5th contestant, Nate Woods. Nate Woods.
Seth, thank you for your speech. My favorite speeches are ones that come from the heart, and you expressed areas where you struggle, and you laid yourself out really vulnerable in front of us. That means a lot. Seth's speech was a story of personal struggle. And when you give a speech on personal struggle, you want people to learn from you, and you want to help them. You may have to give a speech like this yourself. There may be somebody in your life that you need to reach out and help. There's 3 things to keep in mind when you're sharing a story of personal struggle. You need the audience to care. You need the audience to learn. And the audience needs to know which way to go. We're going to analyze the speech across those 3 dimensions. Care. Laughter was used throughout, a great use of humor for this entire speech. There were stories about Portland life, local things, and that helped bring me in especially, and I'm sure others as well. And then the stresses of life. The weights you feel on top of you are a lot of the same weights people in the audience have. So relate to your audience. Bring up things that are in common, especially bring up common issues and common problems. It could have been a little bit stronger by really saying how it affects you. Not simply a shared problem, but saying, I bet you share this problem. And then the stage usage could have been stronger as well. I noticed a lot of using a small area of the stage. And this could be tightened up and be a little bit less distracted. The second piece, you need your audience to learn. We had a lot of great things in there. We had KPIs, we had game theories, we got a personal definition about the difference between measurement and what actually matters. There was a lot there to learn, and the ground was covered really well. When you speak to your audiences, know what you want them to learn, and then give it to them. Now, an area where this could have been tightened up a little bit is by shrinking the amount to learn. There were a lot of really technical terms, and if we tightened up maybe around 1 or 2 specific themes, that might have made the learning even better. Lastly, your audience needs to know which way to go. This is frequently called a call to action. In my opinion, the entire speech was a call to action, and it capped off really nicely when he talked about his gaming buddy, irony. It's a good note to be humorous and honest with yourself. And he's going to keep playing the game. So don't be a slave to these philosophies. Be aware of them. One final thing I really appreciated about his speech was just the subject matter. He took something whimsical like an app and mapped that on to the things of life that are most important. Thank you so much for a great speech.
Please welcome Chelsea Carpenter. Chelsea Carpenter.
Good morning, Toastmasters. Thank you. Kathleen, good to see you again. Seth, thank you for such a wonderful speech. I don't know about the rest of you, but when I silenced my cell phone, some of those pings that are impatiently waiting for me to turn my phone back on are probably from a game saying, hey, your energy is re-leveled. Come back, play more. Your speech was very timely. There's a lot of apps out now, and all of them promise something major. So that's the first good thing I want to highlight about your speech is the timeliness of it. The second is your use of conversational gestures, humor gestures, graphical gestures, really great use of the gestures. Also, you had wonderful volume and vocal variety. Some things that I noticed that you may choose that you might want to work on were, first was eye contact. When you were in the humor space, you were paying attention to everyone, looking at everyone. And then when you were waxing philosophical, you were a little bit further away, looking here at the stage, which is understandable. That's what we do when we're philosophizing. We are in our heads and in our own space. Another way that you could use the same gesture, kind of turned away, but maybe looking toward the audience. And that way we can come along with you on that thinking journey you're going on. The other thing that would help with would be your use of space up on the stage. I noticed that your range was about here to not far, not even all the way to the other side of the screen, and not much on the forward or back, but if you could do that philosophical kind of gaze down this way, you're more at the front and maybe more engaged with the audience. So speed and clarity are kind of related in your speech. You were using humor, and with that humor, you had a really fast wit and a really fast pace, and it was great, and we loved your jokes, and we were all laughing along. And then you got to your waxing philosophical, and I wanted you to slow down maybe just a peg to bring me along with you. Again, that's a fun thinking journey that you went on, and I felt maybe that along with how fast-paced tech is, you were also kind of fast-paced for me in carrying along with those thoughts. One stretch goal I could maybe identify, the purpose of your speech. To me, it seemed like you were sharing a story. There was no call to action, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. So I think maybe just taking a beat and thinking about, what am I hoping that people will leave with after they hear my speech. But overall, it was a really fun message. It was a really great way to review an app, and it was really timely and so funny. You were really great to watch. You were really comfortable up here, and I learned a lot, actually, from your gesture use. I'm just going to call that out again. Thank you, Seth.
Our next contestant, Alan Indiger. Alan Indiger.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and Seth. A while back, you took on a job. You're going to be the target speaker. 8 or 9 people are going to be shooting at you all day. You took on the job. You knew what was going to happen. I will applaud you that you dressed appropriately for this contest, considering the fact that if you have ever seen what I've seen before as a target speaker, you would cringe. Now, let me talk about a couple of improvements I would have made in your speech. The first, I would like to combine voice and gestures. How are you all today? You were so within it. Gestures. How are all of you today? Raise your voice. This is a tough crowd. You want an answer? Raise your voice. Big gestures. You know how much money I've spent? That was pretty casual for you. But as an older person who watches those finances, make it big. Your gestures were within your body most of the time. You had a couple of places where you could have been really, really big. Movement on the stage. You used maybe a third of the stage. I would have paused, come over to one side. They have these little boxes on stage so you know where it's at. Pause, back to the podium, pause, come back to the middle, tie it up. Now, this evaluation thing, you can take it or you can leave it. All of these people that are in here that have given you evaluations, you don't have to do anything with that. What you have to do is be comfortable with what you did today. And if you're comfortable with that, if you made a point and you got the point across, then you're okay. I thought it would be interesting if maybe you went a little long. I don't know what time your speech was. We're not supposed to look at that. But wouldn't it be fun if you just went a little bit longer? Now, that'd be an issue with Leanna, but that's after it's over, so it doesn't matter. If Leanna's ticked at you, just take the phone off the hook. You'll be fine. You gave a good speech. I love the fact that you went opening body, close. I tell people to do that all the time. So all you need to know today is you can take it or leave it. As long as you're happy, doesn't matter. Madam Toastmaster.
Our final contestant, please welcome Deborah Clough. Deborah Clough.
Primacy, KPIs, causation, those are jargon words. And that's okay to have a jargon word or two, but consider your audience and whether they know what you're talking about. I felt that some of the humor fell flat, and I think it was because of that jargon. But that's not the focus of my evaluation today, because that could be a very appropriate amount of jargon in your speech, depending on who you're meeting with. What I want to talk about is body language and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a lot of different things. It can be your voice, it can be your tone, it can be how you use the space, and it can be how you move. Two areas I want to focus on is your body and your space. When you're giving a speech, especially with jargon, that enthusiasm needs to come through because it can be very technical. Body movements should be accentuated and emphasized. I felt that there was a little bit of pterodactyl thing going on. You had some good body movement with the rolling back of the scores going down and peak performance, but those could have been even bigger. Peak performance. Share that enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is going to bring the entire room into what you're speaking on. The second area is your use of space. There was a lot of this. Come out in the front. Move into the back if you need to, but don't stay in one place. And use those points that you move with purpose. Here was where you were with your lower scores. And then you improved, and things got better, and your scores went up, and you reached your peak, and you're over here. And everybody sees that difference. I enjoyed this speech a lot. I will admit that some of the humor, as I said, sort of went over my head. I know there were some who got it, and that was fabulous. But I think that enthusiasm can really carry that message even stronger if you don't know what the topic is. So remember your audience, and think about how your enthusiasm can be infectious to others. Thank you.
Just to clarify, I'm still on this, but thank you. I would also like one more round of applause and ask our guest, our test speaker, to come on up. Can you just hold this for a minute? Can you just hold it? I would like to thank you. Again, given the fact that you've never even been to a contest, it takes a lot of courage to come here and not only be seen by a variety of people, but then to be evaluated. So Seth, this is a certificate of participation. Thank you for taking the time, and we appreciate your participation.
Thank you very much.
Yes. This is our opportunity to get to know our speakers and evaluators today. So I am going to be working in the order, or asking questions in the order that they presented or evaluated, and we'll see how much time we have before the ballot counters get back with their results. So Rachel, first I'd like to offer you a certificate of participation, and I know it's awkward, so I'll just shake your wrist. And if you could just share with us, what is your home club and how long have you been a member of Toastmasters?
Yes, my home club is Downtown Public Speakers in Eugene. That's right. Thank you, John. And I have been a Toastmaster for, I don't have the number of days and hours, I know some people do,
What?
but it's been more than 3 years and less than 4.
Okay, excellent. Well, congratulations on being here today.
Thank you very much. Than 4.
Okay, excellent. Well, congratulations on being here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott, please share with us your club and how long you've been part of Toastmasters.
I have been with University Toastmasters in Ashland, Oregon for 8 years, 2 months, 3 weeks, 2 hours, and 56 seconds.
Bravo. Please pass it on. Here you go. Alexis, it's hard to do with all those. There we go. Alexis, same thing. Share with us your home club and how long you've been part of Toastmasters.
I'm a member of Clark County Toastmasters in Vancouver, Washington, and I believe I joined at the very end of June in the year 2000.
Wonderful. Leon? I think you know the question.
I do. I'm representing New Horizons Toastmasters in Tualatin, and I've been a Toastmaster for 25 years.
Nate, I'll shake your wrist.
Thank you. I'm a member of Liberty Talkers, where we meet Thursdays at 6:15 sharp, and I've been a member of Toastmasters for 4 or 5 years.
And is that, one quick question, AM or PM?
Post-meridian.
Thank you. Chelsea, here, I'll do it this way this time. Please share with us your club and how long you've been with the Toastmasters.
I'm with the Electric Toasters in downtown Portland, and I have been a member for about 1.5 years.
Congratulations, awesome.
I am representing Wilshire Toastmasters in Willamina, if anybody knows where that is. However, I belong to 5 clubs and I attend 6 prison clubs, so I have 11 altogether.
Wow.
And I've been a Toastmaster since 1988, 31 years.
Wow.
Thank you. You're a crazy man, Alan. My name is Deborah, and I am a member of Portland Toastmasters, the oldest club in the state of Oregon, Portland Club 31. We meet on Monday nights at Concordia University at 6:30 p.m., and I'm usually really good about starting us right on time. Every now and then I'm a little late. But I also want to give a shout out to my other club, which is CRCI, or Columbia River Correctional Institute. And if you guys have not been to a prison club, I really encourage you to check it out. It's really a transformative experience for me, and I really enjoy seeing what happens with the inmates there. It's just astounding to see the growth that they get there.
Thank you. So we'll... If you could just hand it in and I'll ask a question. So Deborah, starting with you, what has been the biggest benefit of Toastmasters for you?
You know, I would think it's actually the people I've met. I've met some really incredible folks in both of the clubs, and it's astounding to me how many folks out there are uncomfortable with speaking in front of others, and it's inspiring to me to watch other folks learn how to be more comfortable. So that's what I enjoy the most. That's what I've gained the most out of it.
Great, thank you. Alan, with 11 clubs, dare I ask how many paths you're on in Pathways?
I have completed 2, and I'm too cheap to start the 3rd. But I'm helping the prison people because Pathways is a big issue with them.
Yes.
However, Pathways is a big issue with a lot of you. So hopefully, if you go to the business meeting today, I will have some help for you.
Great.
On Pathways.
And I like to believe that we have turned the corner on Pathways being difficult. And it actually, what I've learned as a Toastmaster is the further you get down the path, the more familiar it looks like competent communication speeches or competent leader tasks, and plus a lot of fun electives. So yes, there will be people available if anybody needs help, because we want you to get you on a path just for fun. Chelsea, share with us, in terms of what you hope to accomplish, is there anything that you'd like to accomplish with Toastmasters by the end of the Toastmasters year, which is June 30th, or over the next year? with Toastmasters?
I would like to have fully onboarded, trained, and prepared the next VP of Education.
Ah. That sounds very well organized and a big commitment, and I think they will benefit from all of that. Bravo. Nate, share with us what path you're on in Liberty Talkers.
Persuasive something? Persuasive something.
I was going to say, let's do that with conviction. Perhaps it's, I don't know for sure, but perhaps it's persuasive speaking.
Likely.
And on that particular path, has there been something that surprised you or challenged you in a way you haven't been before as a Toastmaster?
I just got into level 3, so I had no idea about the electives. So that was surprising that there's so much more choice and individuality, I guess, baked into the platform compared to a CC or a CL.
Wonderful. Cleon, I've seen so many rumpled old competent communicator manuals, CL manuals, and I'm sure you're on at least one, if not more, paths. I'm hoping so. Share with us the value of continuing to work a path. You've been part of Toastmasters 25 years, so share with us what is the value of sticking to it and doing it in any which way, a competent communicator, the new pathways.
Wow. It's more growth, it's more learning, it's more for me, it's more for you. This is the thing that I see. It expands it far beyond where we've been. We've had a great run. I've learned a lot from it. But in the new world of technology, the new world of learning and communications, I'm so glad that we've made this move, because this is going to help me and others. So whether they help me or I help them, this is the other part, is that I get to work with the newer people who come into Toastmasters, who now they have no choice. They just go right into it. And many of them are far ahead of me understanding the pathways. So I find that there's learning right from there, and I get to learn back from them. And I can add something maybe.
Excellent, thank you. Alexis, as I've gone through voices over the few years it's been around, I've noticed that you've either written an article or been interviewed by somebody for an article of sorts. What has challenged you as a writer or someone who wants to make a contribution or serve in Toastmasters and for voices? What would you throw out to challenge folks here in the audience to either write an article, interview someone for an article, things of that sort? What value?
Thank you, Kathleen. That's a really question worth pondering. A couple of steps along that path, I think. First of all, get to know Phyllis. And then, as Dana keeps telling us, look within yourself, because you have more wisdom, because it's your personal wisdom, than you probably acknowledge even to yourselves. Somebody looking at you would be impressed with your wisdom, and you need to learn to be impressed with your own. And when you feel that way, not in an arrogant, narcissistic self, I don't mean that at all, but what I do mean is to acknowledge the many gifts and blessings with which you have been given and share those, and there will be an audience for you.
Thank you. How has Toastmasters, Scott, helped you either with a challenge in either personal or professional life? How has it helped you either tackle something, achieve something, earn something? How has Toastmasters helped?
Toastmasters has actually given me the confidence that I seriously lacked. For those who were in Eric Winger's class this morning, what you learned was that I sit behind a computer all day. I don't talk to people. What I'd like to also do is give a call out to my second club, the Veterans Administration Club from White City down in Southern Oregon. Welcome. And one thing I learned today from our keynote speaker was, why do we stick around here in Toastmasters after we've done X, after we've done learning what we need to learn? And it's learning how to serve others. And I really appreciate that observation, and that's what I'd like to do.
Thank you. Have you ever been in a contest before, yes or no, here?
No.
Okay. So based on this experience today and then what it took to get here, how can you challenge these audience members who maybe never participated to participate? Like, what do you get out of it? What does it feel like to be on stage?
Give it a try. It starts small. You participate in the contest at your club level, and then you move on to the area level, if you do. And it just gets a little more intense each time, but you're eased into it. So why not give it a try at the club level? It's just like going out and giving a speech like you would in Pathways. And even if you don't advance to the next level, it's still a great experience. And if you do, you get the immense pleasure of being up on a stage like this and getting to share your story with the rest of you. It's very cyclic, I hope. So we hope to see you next year.
That's right. Okay, let's give them one last rousing round of applause. And off you go. Thank you. And now we're going to announce our winners. We're going to start with the third place finisher. So third place, Kate, I will give this to you. Third place finisher, Chelsea Carpenter. Stay here. Congratulations. Our second place finisher, Nate Woods. Congratulations. How does that feel in your hand? It's very awesome. Never experienced this. Live in the moment, right? Our first place finisher is Alexis Mason. Congratulations. And one more round of applause.